All right. Thank you all for joining over to this session. My name is Mark Lemanager. I'm the Supervisor of Regulatory and Planning here at Eversource for New Hampshire and Connecticut. With me today is Michael Laughlin. He is our supervisor for our new construction and weatherization programs for Eversource. Mike, do you mind going to the next slide, please? I just wanted to do some housekeeping before turning it over to Mike for his presentation. We have a presentation from Mike. We're also going to have time at the end for some Q&A. To insert a question, please go under the Q&A function within Zoom. So it might be located next to your list of tools. It might be under the More section, and then you'll see Q&A available. So we just please ask that you use the Q&A function to submit a question, and we'll get to it at the end. Thank you, and turning it over to you, Mike.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for that introduction. And good morning, everybody. So today I just got 25 minutes to 30 minutes with you to kind of cover our new construction programs. And what we're going to do is we will cover our 3 incentive pathways that we have for commercial new construction, and then we will go over quickly our residential and our multifamily pathways. That's what we're going to shoot for today. Just to start this off, I'm sure by now you most likely know what NHSaves is, but I just want to go over this one more time. So New Hampshire Saves is a collaboration of the New Hampshire electric and gas utilities. So it's the 4 utilities in New Hampshire. It's Eversource, Liberty, New Hampshire Electric Cooperative, and Unitil. And we work together to provide energy efficiency incentives and to save energy across the state. So we work both on residential, commercial, and municipal programs. And I'm pretty sure you've probably participated in some of the earlier sessions. And I know Jesse went over a lot of stuff with the municipals. So that's one aspect of what we do. So the money from these programs does come from ratepayers. We all pay into this system benefit charge, both commercial and residential customers. And there's a similar charge as well for natural gas. So just to be clear, these programs are offered throughout the state in each of the towns, basically. And for new construction, the program offerings is pretty much the same across the state, no matter what utility you would be utilizing. And just to level set a little bit more, so this is the electric territory in New Hampshire, and each of the area, obviously you could see the color coordination there of who has what territory. So all 4 utilities obviously cover a majority of the state. So that's the electric map, and then we also have the gas territory. So there is times where you could possibly be working on a new construction project, and could be 2 different utilities. You could have a gas utility and a electric utility, and we do work together, obviously, to deliver the new construction program and the incentives. So we work together kind of behind the scenes, so you don't have to try and figure that out. We will work together and deliver the program to you. So before we jump in, I just want to kind of level set a little further on a couple of definitions that I'll be using throughout the day. So our focus over the past few years has shifted from single measures in commercial buildings to a more comprehensive approach. With that comprehensive approach in mind, we just have these 2 quick definitions here. We have the zero net energy building, and then we have the EUI energy use intensity. So a zero net energy building is a building that produces as much energy as it consumes over a 1-year period. In our program, we are focusing primarily on zero net energy ready buildings. They don't need to be completely net zero. It doesn't necessarily need to have renewables to be included. So like I said, it just needs to be net zero ready. And what we're doing is we're paying for the reduction in the energy use intensity of the building. And the other words that you may hear for zero net energy would be zero net carbon, or possibly zero net emissions. And then I did just mention energy use intensity, or EUI. You'll probably hear me say EUI a lot. So EUI is based on all the fuels being used, converted to kBTU, and then divided by the square footage of the building per year. So that's what energy use intensity is. And that will give you a number that you can compare to other buildings to figure out if you are using more energy or less energy than a similar building. It's very similar to miles per gallon on cars. So EUI focuses on the full building energy use rather than just that measure to measure energy use, which I mentioned at the beginning. So we're looking at that comprehensive approach. And that's the way we're seeing the industry move. And our pathways have been designed to take that into consideration. So we want to see basically how the building interacts rather than just one by one measures now. So we have pathways in both residential and commercial space to offer on the zero net energy building. So to understand the zero net energy buildings a little further, this is a visualization that illustrates the concept of basically a net zero building and then the role that energy use intensity plays in getting to that net zero. So this graphic presents two different scenarios. On the left side, you'll see that this building is heavier, it has higher energy consumption, and a higher EUI. So that would be a higher EUI building. This is not optimal. It's not an optimal condition because the energy demand is too great to fully offset with solar or renewable sources. So the goal in that scenario is obviously to reduce or slim down the building's energy use. So if we look on the right side of this graph, you'll see that the building, excuse me, is much slimmer. And that is basically representing a lower consumption or a lower EUI for those particular measures or those particular energy uses in that building. So since EUI reflects the total energy use, this reduced demand can then be effectively offset with renewable energy. It's, I guess I'd say the building on the right is probably, it's like a little bit of, it's just been working out a lot and it's a lot skinnier, so we're able to offset that there. So in our new construction programs, our main focus is on the left side of that balance. Or the building itself. We're here to help reduce that energy use intensity by looking at each of the measures using energy in the building, such as the lighting, the HVAC, appliances, motors, etc. And our primary objective is to help customers lower that energy consumption with our incentives. So to basically provide an incentive to put in a more efficient piece of equipment across the board, so it is a comprehensive approach. So now that we're grounded, let's take a look at the three different pathways that we do offer. We currently do have three different pathways: the net zero pathway, which we kind of spoke a little bit about, but I'm going to dive into deeper, our high performance building pathway, and then our prescriptive systems approach pathway. So our first pathway is that net zero. This is the premier pathway that we have. What our main focus is there is obviously to help customers lower that EUI target. And the hallmark of this pathway is actually the monitoring that we do 1 year after the building has been completed. So we call that a post-occupancy period. And what that does is it ensures that the building is performing as it's been designed. We do model these buildings at the beginning. And it must be modeled in order to participate in this pathway. And that's usually modeled by your design team and then also our technical assistance vendors that we utilize. And the important part of this is the utilities must be engaged in this type of project early on, usually during the conceptual design phase, in order for it to be successful. So we'll get further into that pathway here momentarily. The second pathway, which is the high performance building pathway, this is a comprehensive look at your design documents and the building plans. We do have a third-party technical assistance vendors that we work with that will review the plans and provide insights into a way to make it more efficient. Um, and in this pathway, we don't necessarily need to have it modeled, but we still have our third-party engineering firms or technical assistance vendors develop a customized tool that we utilize to determine the savings that are above and beyond code. And that's what we're able to pay for, those savings that are above code requirements. And then finally, we have our systems approach or our third pathway, basically. And these are for projects that come to us a little bit later in design. Maybe they're at construction documents, or they could be smaller in size, or they may not be doing an entire comprehensive approach on the building. Maybe they're just doing a few measures, and that would fall under our prescriptive system approach. So this just explains kind of where we want. If there's anything you get out of this today, I would like you to be able to take away that we'd like you to come to us as early as possible when you're thinking about building a new building, because we're able to offer more incentives, more technical assistance the earlier we get engaged. So this basically just showing you the different steps in the process, but you'll see that we have a early in design process. We have that kind of labeled off there. That's ideally where we want to be engaged with you if you are building a new project. If it's a little bit later, we could still be engaged, but the incentives and the technical assistance isn't as abundant, I guess. So ideally, that's when we want to be engaged, right in between the feasibility and the schematic design. Some people may think that's very early, but that's when we can provide the most influence on the design and help make some of those help you with making some of those decisions to lower that EUI. So just diving back into our zero net energy low EUI building pathway. This is the one pathway that I am pretty excited to continue to talk about, and I hope we can continue to increase our participation rate in this pathway. I've been talking about net zero buildings or net zero homes on the residential side for a majority of my career here at Eversource, and we're finally starting to get the same level of excitement as the residential side on the commercial and municipal side for net zero energy buildings. So like I said, the intent of this pathway is to specifically target and help influence low EUI buildings. It has been developed to provide design teams with the tools necessary to set an EUI target and then reach that EUI target. And we're strongly focused on EUI targets in this pathway. We're working with design teams, like I said, from the schematic design to help establish a target that the project team, the design team, can track that target throughout the entire design, construction, and then post-occupancy. We have learned that in this pathway, it's extremely important to focus on measured actual outcomes rather than just energy modeling predictions. So that's why we have that post-occupancy period, which we'll get into. In this pathway, it's imperative that we engage with you very early. Like I said, early engagement is critical to the success of this pathway. We strongly encourage teams to engage with us during the feasibility study or conceptual design. If that is not possible, if you've already started, then we need to at least be engaged basically before 50% of schematic design. Beyond that point, it's basically too late to participate in this pathway, but we do have others that you still will be able to take advantage of. The reason for the early involvement is simple. Successful low EUI design requires starting the conversation as early as possible. Early collaboration allows all project stakeholders to align around a shared goal. By having everyone at the table early, the expectations are set, and we can develop a clear roadmap that can be referenced and reinforced throughout the entire process. We call that a design charrette, and obviously we take care of the cost for that. But it is also a requirement to participate in this pathway. We do have to have a design charrette with the entire program. I mean, excuse me, total project team to set that roadmap. Some of the other requirements are it just needs to be at least 10,000 square feet of heated and cooled space. And then also, we do need to have year-round occupancy in the building. We have done some schools, and in order for that year-round occupancy, it does need to be used for a minimum of 4 weeks during the summer. So, as I mentioned, the post-occupancy period is obviously very important. And what we do is we stay with the project and the facility management, the facility team, the design team. We stay with them for 1 year after the building has been constructed and occupied. And we work with that team to determine when they feel the building is in a steady state, when it's ready to kind of start that 1 year post occupancy. And then we have a technical assistance vendor that works with you to basically true up and make sure that that building is working and performing the way it was designed to work. And what we do is we offer an incentive as well. So we offer a construction incentive. So once the building is complete, we offer an incentive at that point, and then we offer an additional incentive for after 1 year of post occupancy, as long as the building is still performing to that EUI target that we set back during the design phase. And in addition to those two incentives, we also offer technical assistance. We provide a net zero energy expert that will work with you, obviously from the design all the way through that post occupancy period. And they're there to kind of help guide and provide insights on ways to reach that EUI target. And each type of building has its own EUI target that we've set, and these have been compiled by multiple studies conducted across New England. So again, our technical assistance vendor will help guide you to make sure that you are able to hopefully reach these EUI targets or exceed these EUI targets. So before we move on, just early engagement is probably the most important part here, and then we can work together to make sure that your building is reaching these standards. And here are the incentive levels that we offer. So we're offering $1.50 for the construction portion of the building, and then an additional $1.50 once that post-occupancy period concludes. So it's a total of $3 per square foot of an incentive. And then we also do pay for we have a cost share, but we pay up to $10,000 for the EUI net zero expert in this pathway. And one example of this is Oyster River Middle School. We were engaged with them extremely early, basically before this building even went to a town vote and was approved to be built. We were already engaged with them at that point. So we've had some great success here. This building actually goes back all the way to 2018 is when we actually started working with them. And we've gone through post occupancy at this point. And we did find a few areas where we could work with them to make sure that the building was performing as it was intended. This building did get an EUI of about a 25, so they met the goal. That was the goal that was set, and they met and exceeded that goal. We had multiple design charrettes with different school officials, the design team. So this was a great collaboration, worked really well. One of the things that we did find during post occupancy, there is a geothermal system at this facility, along with solar hot water. And one of the issues that we found with this was that during the post-occupancy, there was a solar hot water valve that was actually open and dumping the hot water back into the ground rather than into the hot water tanks. So during that post-occupancy period, we were able to find that and obviously fix that issue. But that was one of the successes there. And there was a total of basically 13 different measures that we incentivized on this project and claimed savings on. Next pathway, this is our second pathway. This is our high performance building pathway. This is by far our most utilized pathway of the three. This is intended for projects that are a little bit simpler than a zero net energy building, but have common energy efficiency measures. Maybe these developers or this builder is moving much quicker and faster, and they're not solely focused on an EUI reduction. So we have a comprehensive approach here as well. To qualify for this pathway, it just needs to at least be 5,000 square feet of heated and cooled space. Again, we want to be engaged early if possible on these, usually during conceptual schematic design, but at least engaged before 100% design development is completed. Again, in this pathway, we offer technical assistance vendors who will work with you. We'll have an energy charrette again. They do a mid-design review as well with you, and then they will complete a customized high-performance building tool that we utilize to calculate the savings that are above code. There's no cost to participate in this there's no cost or cost share for the technical assistance. We pay for that on the utility side. And the common measures that we do see in this pathway are right here. So usually it's obviously lighting. Like I said, we work with the natural gas companies as well. There's natural gas heating, hot water, an improved envelope, so higher efficient or higher R value insulation, heat pumps, high efficiency chillers, energy recovery. Basically, any measures that are saving energy, then we will be able to take a look at either through that prescriptive calculation tool that we have, or we can do it custom as well. And this pathway, the incentive rate is 40 cents per kilowatt hour saved above code, and then $2 per therm or $20 per MMBTU saved. And in this pathway, we are able to offer municipal projects, are able to take advantage of fossil fuel savings as well. So if there is fossil fuel savings, such as propane or oil, I guess, we are able to offer incentives there as well. So that's that pathway. That's the second pathway. That's high performance building pathway. And then finally, we have our prescriptive systems pathway, which is a pathway that would most likely you come to us later in the design phase, or maybe it's not as comprehensive. Maybe it could be a fit out or something where you're only maybe replacing lighting and some HVAC. We do offer some technical assistance in this pathway, depending on how complex the project is. And then the other thing, like I said, because this project may be coming to us later in the game, the incentives are a little bit lower because we weren't able to influence the design as much as we would have liked. Some requirements for this one, again, the projects that are under 5,000 square feet would also qualify. So like I said, high performance building pathway, you need to be 5,000 square feet or larger. This one, if it's less, then we could put it into this pathway as well. So just a quick recap. So pathway 1 was our net zero low energy EUI building pathway, where we're setting an EUI target and working with you through the entire phase, through the entire building process. Pathway 2 is our high performance building pathway, where we're paying an annual we're paying an incentive on annual kilowatt hours and therms saved over code. And then finally, our pathway 3 is our system pathway, where you maybe come to us late in the game, but are still willing to install energy efficient equipment, and we can pay incentives on a prescriptive or custom approach in this prescriptive systems pathway. So here's just a quick visual to overview of the process on how the submittal process basically works with us. So we would obviously like you to contact us early. You would submit project information, design documents over to us. We do an energy saving analysis. Usually our third-party technical assistance vendors would do that. They will let us know at that point what the possible savings would be. We would sign an incentive agreement offer with you as the customer. You install the equipment. You then let us know once it's completed, or you install the equipment, build the building, it's done. At that point, we may do an inspection and measure verification with our internal engineering team and our internal inspection team. And then once those are conducted and are satisfactory, we then offer a final payment, and that's a check that is sent directly to you. So that was commercial new construction, and I know I only got a few minutes here, but I will quickly go through our residential new construction programs. So here we do have 3 different offerings as well. We have a net zero challenge, Energy Star Homes, and then our drive to Energy Star pathway. So on the residential side, like I said, we have single family offerings that you can get rebates up to $10,000, and we pay for our HERS rating fees as well on those. So there's 2 tracks. There's, if you want to build a home that meets Energy Star and get a bonus for that, then we do offer that. And then we have basically a Code Plus program, which we call our Drive to Energy Star program. And those incentives are basically the same. You just don't get the Energy Star bonus. And the way it works is we have a home energy rater that you would contact us. The home energy rater would review your plans, do a midpoint inspection. So they come out, do an inspection on the insulation of the home before any drywall goes up, provides any recommendations at that point, and then they come back at the end and do a final inspection with a blower door and duct blaster if you're using ductwork for heating and cooling. Here is the incentives breakdown. So 10,000 for single family homes, 4,000 for condominiums, and then 1,500 per multifamily unit. And then the Energy Star bonuses are on top of that. So that's the maximum rebate. Not everybody obviously gets that, but that is what the incentives, that's what you're able to earn. Just this submittal process for residential side. So you would contact us before construction begins, submit the enrollment form, construction begins, and then the midpoint inspection happens with the HERS rater, final inspection. Once the final inspection is done, the HERS rater provides us the HERS report, and then we send out the final payment. So that is our residential offerings, and we have the same offering for multifamily. So it's the same process. The HERS rater works with you if it's a multifamily or a single family. And that concludes this presentation, and I will ask Mark to jump back on and see if we have any questions.
Thanks. So really quick, I think we do have time for a couple. There are some questions that came in. Really quick on the prescriptive pathway, is there a minimum size that's required to participate through that pathway?
There's no, so that's the systems pathway. So we don't have a minimum size on that. No, there's no minimum size there.
Okay. And then 2 questions related to earlier in the deck. You had a seesaw slide around slide 4 or 5, laying out a not net zero home and a net zero home. How is solar calculated in that that
So
balancing act, and then also how is geothermal calculated in that balancing act?
right. So just if we can, I can't go back, but if we could go back to that slide on the right side, on the balance, on the right side, there was a little picture of solar on the right side of it. So what that was intended to show was you want to get the usage of the building as low as possible, then offset that with the solar that would be on the right side to balance out that building. Um, and geothermal would be part of that on the left side, basically, of that balance because it's going to lower the total usage or total, yeah, usage of the building, and you could still help offset that with some solar. So that's
All right, and that's what we received for questions. Thank you all for joining. Enjoy the rest of the sessions.
thank you.